Hello, world. Ready to get empowered? Warmest welcome to World Humanitarian Drive's 27th episode of Inspiring Millions Show. This is the show where we celebrate brilliant minds from around the world who share with us their story, one story at a time. Today, our featured guest is Luke Burrows, CEO of Grow2Gether, mindset coach, podcast host. We'll get to know his inspiring story in a short while. Thank you for joining us live or on replay. I'm Viva Flynn, your host and global media relations of World Humanitarian Drive. Now, let us tell you about World Humanitarian Drive. World Humanitarian Drive, also known as WHD, is an international NGO founded in Croydon, UK, by British Indian global peace activist, entrepreneur, writer, Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed. The primary vision of WHD is to promote peace, education, and trade harmony initiatives globally among everyone across the world, regardless of race, gender, religion, or nationality. Living as one family. WHD is striving for humanity. This Inspiring Millions show is your show. As always, we encourage you to engage and interact with us. Please help us spread inspiration to the world by sharing this link. Put your questions that you would like to ask our guest, Luke Burrows, greetings, shout-outs, or comments that you have for us in the chat box. We will read them later on in the show. Let us also know where you are watching this. Wherever you are in the world, let us keep you company and brighten your day as we share peace, love, and goodwill. It's the first week of August, the Happiness Happens month. What makes you happy? For those of us sporty individuals, it's watching the Tokyo 2020 Summer Olympics airing at this time. We're witness to the prowess of world-class athletes coming from a wide age range who have honed their skills and abilities with many years of training. So which country are you cheering for? On Thursday, the 12th of August, is International Youth Day. According to United Nations website, International Youth Day gives an opportunity to celebrate young people's voices, actions, and initiatives. Today, we're very honored to be joined by Luke Burrows, a young, inspiring individual whose passions include football, youth empowerment, entrepreneurship, personal growth, and unlocking human potential. Luke is the founder of Grow2Gether, a personal growth community platform, creating spaces for growth-minded individuals to grow together. Luke is also a mindset coach, podcast host, and entrepreneur who considers it his mission to educate, inspire, and advance the human race to be better versions of themselves, so that together we can create a better, more conscious and awakened world for current and future generations. So let's all welcome from the United Kingdom, Luke Burrows. How are you today, Luke?
I'm good, thank you, Viva. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Luke, for being here too. So Luke, could you please introduce yourself to the world and share a brief story about you?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, Viva, obviously my name is Luke. I'm 26. I'm here from the UK, and yeah, a few years ago I created a platform called Grow2Gether, and I started it really from my own story, my own journey at that point of facing and overcoming anxiety, depression, and just trying to find my own purpose in life. Ultimately, at the time, I was working a very boring 9-to-5 and really wanted more from life, and believed that there was more to life than meets the eye ultimately. And so ever since I've been embarking on this quest, on this mission to discover what that is, not just for myself, but also to help other people, whether that's within my local communities, or whether that's at the world at large. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Obviously, as you mentioned, Viva, do a lot of content creation, podcasting, etc. And yeah, hugely passionate about personal growth, personal development, human transformation, human behavior, all that sort of stuff, entrepreneurship as well. And yeah, that's ultimately what's led me to where I am today, and to get me on this path of personal growth and personal development ultimately.
That's a great intro, Luke. So you consider it your mission to help people to live their passion and tap into their potential. So how did you get started on your career? Could you talk us through it?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually like to think of, well, now anyway, as encouraging people to find a mission and not necessarily a career. And maybe that's something that we can touch upon a bit more about later on. But I think for me, looking back, I was never career focused or career minded in school or college or anything. You mentioned there, one of my, also, another one of my passions is sport, and in particular football. And so really late teens, well, most of my childhood, like I was just playing football ultimately. So I wasn't career minded. And it was when I left school, and then you have that period of time where you're trying to work out that next decision, right? Like uni, college, like whatever it is, or just go straight into the workforce ultimately. And so that was probably the first time I even really started to think about my career. And I just chose computers, IT at the time, because a lot of friends, family, and actually teachers highlighted that was something that I was good at, with tech and stuff. So I was just, okay, like I'll go and do that. I did have aspirations, to kind of make it in football, whatever, but it was never quite good enough, right? So that became more of a hobby, or something I'd done with friends. And so yeah, I studied IT at college, and dropped out about 18 months later because I didn't feel I was learning anything new. And for me, the whole purpose of going to college or uni, right, is to learn something new, right? Is to learn and expand your horizons. And so I didn't feel like I was having that experience, and so I dropped out. I took 6 months out to really try to discover what I wanted to do, and in this time, that's when I discovered that business, right? So business was something that I wanted to pursue, and to start my own business. There were a lot of reasons why, but that was the first time this whole kind of business and entrepreneurship kind of career path came up for me. So I decided to get a business apprenticeship because I don't come from an entrepreneurial family, right? So I'm like first generation entrepreneur in my family. And ultimately I didn't know where to turn, or that next step to take. And so I got a business apprenticeship. Unfortunately, through that experience, I say unfortunately, I learned quite a lot through it. Yeah, through that experience, but but didn't go to plan, or my intention didn't come to plan. I kind of got sucked into the 9 to 5 grind, something that I was looking to avoid ultimately, and that's when the anxiety and some of the depression and that started, because I was just working this 9 to 5 that I really despised. Ultimately, I hated, and made some choices along the way where I didn't feel like I could leave or get out of that world ultimately. And it wasn't until, so I've pretty much done that job for about 5 years or so. And it wasn't until maybe the fourth year actually, I then just like, screw this, started up my own business. At the time, it was a t-shirt brand. I also got involved with some network marketing companies, which then opened the door more to the personal development side, the personal growth side. Once I went down that path, I kind of left those businesses and kind of that scene, and started Grow2Gether. And then since, as I mentioned before, been kind of on this quest with personal growth and personal development, and helping people to unlock their own potential ultimately. And through that, discovered more about myself and what is my own purpose and my own mission in life. And now I'm on the road, on the path of starting multiple businesses around things that I am actually passionate about, but also that serve others and help the world move forward, and raise the consciousness of humanity ultimately. So that's pretty much my career in a nutshell, or the journey that I've been on, and took the lessons from those experiences, and now very much looking forward to the future.
So you've tried the 9 to 5 kind of work, and you felt that it wasn't for you?
Definitely not.
And then so there was also a time that you worked for a grocery chain or something, and you felt like you had more freedom to work. You were actually enjoying it more rather than 9 to 5. Was that it?
So yeah, so before I went to work the 9 to 5, I just got a job at my local supermarket. And so because that was obviously part-time, you had a lot more freedom. Like you're not sat at a desk for 8 hours, 9 hours a day. I wouldn't say I enjoyed that more ultimately. I think any position where any job I would say isn't for me, and which is why I'm actually grateful to find entrepreneurship and to step more into that world, and discover more of ultimately myself through personal growth and personal development. So in terms of the jobs that I've worked, there was a job at Morrison's. I've done a lot of volunteering in the past with actually different youth clubs and youth centers, which I think my interest and also passion comes from with kind of young people and supporting the next generation. Then I worked the 9 to 5, and also I'm involved with a social enterprise here in the UK as well. But my main focus now is business, is career, is Grow Together, and is around building my own kind of business empire, I guess, so to speak, and learning along the way ultimately.
So Luke, let's talk now about motivation. So what motivates you to go to work each day, and what motivates you to be your best?
Motivation. So I think one of my motivations is actually I guess I would call it a fear, but let's call it a fear of regret ultimately. And so what I mean by that is I don't want to get to 90 years old or whatever, 80 years old, and look back on my life and think, I could have done this, right? And just have all these should haves, could haves, would haves, etc., etc. When right here, right now, I can do something about it, And so I see a lot of people I would love to start that business, but then they don't, right? And so there might be actual reasons why that time might not be the best time. But I think if we continue to put things off, then we're just constantly living in this could have mindset ultimately. And I feel like that is something that motivates me. I think there's a quote goes something like, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today, right? And so I really like that, and that's something that every now and then is in the back of my mind, and is one of my motivations, because again, I don't want to get to although I'm still young, still in my 20s, right? Sometimes I think that far ahead of when I'm 70, 80, 90, and I just don't want to have those regrets when I can do something about it right now. So that's a big motivation for me. The motivation also of serving and helping others, of course, is a huge one for me. And I think just like the motivation of and the gratitude, I guess, of living life, like being blessed so much that you have the opportunity to wake up each day. And while not every day is going to be the best day of your life type of thing, you're here, and so let's give all that you can. Let's enjoy it the best that you can. And continue. For me, like, I also very much have a mindset of like continuing to move forward. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Viva.
Yes, Luke. So you mentioned this, that you're only in your 20s, but you do think ahead. So, Luke, what do you consider your most important values that define you as a person?
So for me, some of my top values include, so for me, I feel like gratitude is a value, like living in this state of just continued gratitude, ultimately, of like for everything that we have, for then all the way through to like life, the ultimate gift of just life itself, so I always, that's a huge one for me. Optimism as well, like that. There's a difference between optimism and positivity. And I think that that's important to kind of mention. While I adopt and kind of understand the mindset behind like positive thinking, I think like when we step into this perspective of just like optimism, then I also think like that becomes a way of life. So that's another core one of my values, like, and ways that I approach life, is to step into each day with that optimistic outlook, because again, that becomes a way of life. And then other values such as like love and growth, I think are for all of us in some way. I hate to use like blanket statements to kind of summarize everyone, but I feel like they are values for like humanity in general. I feel like we are designed and that to grow. So and that's for, again, like, I don't want to say a blanket statement for everyone, but in my opinion, for everyone, human beings are therefore designed to grow, not just physically or mentally, but across all areas of our lives. So they're also for me key values. And I'm also huge on things like responsibility, ownership, etc., etc. Like I could kind of go on, but I would say that gratitude, optimism, love, growth are some of my core values and core things that I tend to focus on, really. And then one other I would say is also kindness, which all I think comes into love partly, but definitely kindness as well.
Those are important values to have, especially in these times. So you've also said on your podcast before that things make sense when you know your values, principles, and beliefs. So that's a great quotation from you. So as we said earlier on the intro, August is also the Happiness Happens month. So Luke, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? So spending time with friends, family. Yeah, one of my core passions of football definitely does. And I think for me, like, anything that triggers or kind of allows the space for like self-expression, ultimately, I think when we're able to express ourselves, then that produces these kind of feelings and these feelings of fulfillment and happiness, ultimately. So yeah, there are things like traveling with friends and just kind of getting out there and doing new things that definitely brings happiness into my life. But I feel like anything that allows for that self-expression is really a core component and an element of happiness ultimately.
Yes, there's a lot of things going on in this world and right now, so we have to do things that make us happy as well. So you're a mindset coach. What do your responsibilities entail, and what are the qualities of a good coach?
Yeah, great question. So this is an interesting question because I've kind of stepped back a bit from like the whole mindset coaching. And kind of more stepped into with a new venture that I'm starting around kind of workplace culture building and how and leadership, I guess. But obviously one component is that it's still mindset, and still your perspective and outlook on life. And I suppose a qualities, whether you're a consultant or a coach, and something that I've really tapped into is that ability to listen. In a world that is so loud and in a world where I think like everyone just talk so much, and people may also be thinking that I'm talking a lot right now. I feel the ability to listen and just take that time and like create that space to listen to somebody else is really important. And that's ultimately why one of the reasons behind Grow Together as well. And I mean, Viva, this of like creating those spaces where people can connect and learn from each other. But we're creating those spaces also so we can, and a part of that actually is when we listen to each other, and there's different kind of levels of listening. We can go into a completely off-topic kind of conversation around that. But I feel that the ability to be able to listen to someone and listen on a deeper level, not just surface level, I think, and I feel is really important for multiple reasons, from connection point of view to helping to then be able to actually help them to move forward or support them to move forward. Again, I don't want to go off topic. One thing that I also see a lot of is this desire constantly to help others. And I've kind of moved from a space of from helping others to supporting others. And people might maybe like, well, what's the difference? I had a guest on my podcast a couple of years ago, actually, that kind of summed it up quite nicely, where like when we're helping others, sometimes we're so desperate to help others that we take away the lesson that they need in order to grow, right? Whereas when we're supporting someone like a Grow Together, right, we may be creating that environment for them to actually come to their own conclusions or their own realizations, so then they learn that lesson, so then they can grow. So that I feel is a huge part of what makes any good leader, not just a coach. Any good leader is that ability to be able to listen and from that to be able to support the people that they're serving, rather than just going straight into helping them and taking the lesson away that sometimes people need in order to grow.
Yeah, you brought out some important aspects there. Like you mentioned that listening is a very important skill to master, to really listen to others, what they are saying and what they're not saying. So you're a podcaster. Could you also tell us more about your podcasts, Luke?
Yeah, for sure. So this is a good question, Eva, because it's probably the first time that I'm going to be talking about what I'm about to share. So I started my podcast journey back in 2018 with a podcast called Motivational Mentors. That's actually still available on those platforms. And I had a co-host there. And we had a blast for about 18 months or so. I then started a podcast called the Grow Together podcast, which is, as the name may suggest, obviously part of our part of what we do at Grow Together. I then have another show that's called Unorthodox Perspectives. That's again another collaboration effort. In a way, I don't want to say replaced motivational mentors, but I really like the dynamics of having a co-host. And when the Motivational Mentors podcast finished, I wanted to continue in some form, in some way. And so another entrepreneurial friend of mine wanted to start a podcast. So we came together to create that one. And then, yeah, I've tested with a few other different content series in the past as well. And then I'm a little bit behind with it, but this month I'm actually going to be launching a new show as well, as part of quite a big, huge thing I'm doing with like my own online, I guess my own online personal brand and everything, and so that's going to be exciting. I haven't shared this with anyone yet, but I'll share it here, Viva. This podcast is going to be called, or show actually, is going to be called Raising Consciousness with obviously myself, so Luke Burrows, so Raising Consciousness with Luke Burrows. And so that's going to be starting hopefully this month. As I mentioned, a little bit behind with it, but I want it to, want it to be good, and so I'm just taking my time with it and making sure that I get it right. So yeah, it's taking a little bit more time as I'm working with some other graphic designers and producers and stuff to get that right, but that will be happening this month as well. And I've really loved the journey of podcasting as a whole, and would encourage people to if they're wanting to kind of enter this world of content creation, or just have a story, or of just have want to share their voice, want to share their thoughts, hypotheses, opinions, then a podcast is definitely a good way to go about it.
So, Luke, it's Professional Speakers Day tomorrow, and you're a professional speaker. So, what would you like to tell people who are shy or afraid of speaking out in public?
Yeah, good question. I would share. What would I share? I would share just like, and it might sound so simplistic, but I think speak your truth ultimately. Like when you speak your truth, you don't have to think about it, because it's ultimately who you are, And so, yeah, I would massively encourage people to speak their truth. I think people may need to go on a bit of a journey to discover and find out what their truth is. If they're like, well, what's my truth, right? Like only you can answer that. But yeah, I would definitely encourage people to go out there, speak their truth, and I know over time, like the external things of like confidence, etc., will come. But I feel like if you're leading from, again, your values, right, Viva, we spoke about that before. If you're leading from the values, the things that you believe in, your truth, then everything else, I believe, will fall into place.
Those are great tips, Luke. So you're also the CEO of Grow2Gether. What is the importance of self-discovery and personal growth in these times?
Well, I think it's everything ultimately. Like, I don't know about you, but I didn't learn all of this in school, right? And I feel actually the process of self-discovery is one that it would be a very good idea to be taught in schools, and ultimately, because it's the process of learning more about yourself. It's the process of actually discovering yourself at a deeper level. And I feel like if we encourage that more within society as a whole, the world would be, in my opinion, a much better place. So for me, it's everything. I might be a bit biased because obviously that's what I do, right? But I just feel like it's everything. I spoke a lot about this last year on the Unorthodox Perspectives podcast I mentioned earlier, of leading from and living from, actually, more importantly, the inside out rather than the outside in. And what I meant by that is that, like, just look around. Everyone, again, a blanket statement, I do apologize, but most people live from outside in, right? Where they care what John down the road done, or their next door neighbor, or what's happening on the news. And I'm not saying not to care about these things, but then they neglect the they neglect the inner work of focusing on what's in their control, what's not in their control, focusing on their own level of responsibility, right? They're all blaming everyone else, but let's take responsibility for our own lives, and more of the, what I call the inner stuff, I guess, that will actually lead to much more long-term happiness and fulfillment. And so, I think the process of self-discovery, the process of personal growth, helps you to discover that inner work, to discover yourself at that deeper level, so then you can create that more happier and fulfilling life ultimately. And so again, that's a huge part of my life's work and purpose and mission and what I do ultimately. So for me, it's everything.
Growth is everything. So Luke, well, I'm just reading through the comments, and then there's a question here for you. As also,
Okay.
It's going to be World Entrepreneurs Day on the 21st of August. So the question from Tongi Gra, he's asking, do you have any advice for young people who are doing their first step in entrepreneurship?
So I would say enjoy it. Like, enjoy the journey, right? Enjoy the process. There's going to be tough times, hard conversations, late nights. I remember when I was first doing content creation anyway, editing videos at 10, 11 o'clock at night, right? So I would just say to enjoy it, like enjoy it, and learn and keep an open mind. Like, learn from the experience. I mean, there's so much in terms of tips that I could say, of like, follow your passion, like do what you love, like all this sort of stuff, which for me is really important. And then you have like the other side of give value to, just continue to pull value, continue to give value. But I think with all of it, like, if you're not enjoying your work, then if you're not enjoying the process, if you're not, again, it's the same with like 9 to 5. It's the same with whatever you do. If you wake up every day and you just dread it, then you're not going to be your best self, right? You're not going to bring your best self. So I would say enjoy the process, enjoy the ups and the downs, right? Enjoy the meeting the new people, the networking, enjoy all of it. Learn what you can from it, keep an open mind. And I would also say to bear in mind that, like, you've chose this path. Like, of course, you could start a business and go back into the workforce. But, I spoke about this beforehand of, like, I can't complain about business or entrepreneurship because I chose this for my life as well, So I feel that maybe a different conversation around like our choices we make in life, but I think for entrepreneurs as well, it'd be like, okay, you chose this entrepreneurial path. It's going to be hard. In my opinion, it's harder than just going to go in to get a 9 to 5. Like, again, I'm repeat myself a bit here, but you chose this path, enjoy it, learn what you can from it, keep an open mind, and continue to move forward.
So the important thing is to enjoy it and just keep learning. Thing is, some people, they just keep learning and growing, but they're not really applying what they're learning as well. So maybe applications also. And yeah, it's definitely needed. So it's International Youth Day on Thursday. So what support does the youth need now, and how can we empower the youth?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So earlier today we had an event at Grow Together where this was one of the topics, right? And so some important things came up during that session. But kind of linking it into what we're doing with Grow Together as a whole, and it's come up a few times of creating that space. I feel like one of the challenges for young people, and I definitely face this myself, is the belief, feeling, or maybe even so I don't necessarily think it's the reality for everyone, but I feel like a lot of young people, again, I experience this, they don't believe that they have a voice, right? And so come back to Grow Together and like what we're doing is creating those spaces, just holding the space for then people to have a voice, right? People to do that inner work, right? To practice the reflection, to practice going inwards rather than continuously living outwards. And I think that's one of the biggest things, not just actually, I mean, we're talking about young people here, Viva, but not just for young people. I think society in general is having that space where they can be heard. It comes back to that, right? Having that space where they're heard and then people value them and like value what they say. And yeah, whether it's within the workplace or within schools, whatever, it's just creating that type of culture. Ultimately, I think is where the transformation or the growth of society is going to kind of happen. So yeah, I think for me, how we can support more young people is not giving them a voice, but creating those spaces where their voice can be heard. For me, that's it. And why that's important is, and it got brought up earlier in the event we done, like young people are the future leaders, right? Young people are the future leaders, the future entrepreneurs, the future this and that, and like whatever it is, and so it's really important that they have their voice heard, and we create those spaces that helps them to, or supports them, sorry, to really find and discover their own voice and then express it.
That's great. And the event that you were talking about was the one that you just launched earlier, is Lunch and Learn? Lunch and Learn.
Yeah, so at Grow Together, we launched some new events recently. So we do the networking events, which happen on Mondays, and then our community events exclusively for our worldwide community. That so we have Lunch and Learn, which is so on Fridays on a 2-week schedule, and then we also have Sunday Community Connection, which is the same, which are on Sundays but every 2 weeks. So every week there's an event, and then it just depends if it's a Friday or a Sunday which one it is. And so we launched that. Well, we launched the Friday one today, and there was some good things that came up from that. And next week, as you mentioned, with the Youth Day, we're going to be using some of that and basically doing some other stuff that is going to really talk about this more, because it's important to create those spaces again that helps or supports young people to step into their power, right, to discover their own voice and express it.
So you've mentioned that youth need to have the space to be valued and heard, to be supported. So I'm just gonna read through the comments of our virtual audience. So the ones that are saying hi to us, there's Tongi Gra, there's Happy Andrada, there's MD Firoz Alam Suman from Bangladesh, and Ratan Kumar Das from WHD Bangladesh chapter. Win Wonderful. Lovely bandana watching from Bangladesh. We have a question from Shanta Nagendram. The question is, what is the main challenge you face in your mission and your work, and how do you cope or deal with it?
Good question. I think the main challenge, so I think I want to say there's two. One is myself. What I mean by that is I quite often, in fact, most days, have new ideas that come up. And I think sometimes I can be focusing on the next new idea that comes up without fully completing the past idea or the past amazing idea that I had. And sometimes that can be a challenge, and because it could also be a strength, and how I'm trying to turn it into a strength is actually, I have a new idea. Doesn't mean that it has to be implemented right here, right now, So creating things like idea lists and kind of all these sorts of tactics and that can help, for me anyway, to still capture the idea, because I don't want necessarily the idea to, once I think of an idea, I don't want it to be lost, but to still capture the idea, but not necessarily needing to, I have an idea, I have to implement it straight away. The second main challenge I have comes from, I think it's navigating personal relationships. And what I mean by that is, as I mentioned before, my family isn't like entrepreneurial. While they support what I do, because they obviously want me to be fulfilled, happy, and be at my best, the whole entrepreneurial world, they still don't understand it. They still don't get it. And also with like personal development and that as well. So I think like when I'm out here and, let's just say a challenge would come up, I've got kind of these strategies and things to help people develop or help people like think through challenges and problems and then grow out the other side when I'm sharing basically what I'm learning with friends or family. Sometimes it'd be like, Luke's off again on his kind of personal development stuff. And so I feel that's also sometimes a challenge. Because again, it's not that they don't support me. I got, so real quick, I kind of audited my circle of people that didn't support me and were pretty much hated on what I was doing. So I don't see those people anymore. And so my circle now is friends and family who do actually care for me, and I care obviously for them, but not necessarily fully understanding even the vision, right? And I feel like they don't necessarily have to, the only person who has to fully grasp and understand the vision is me. And then with the Grow Together team and with, my next business, the team there and team there, it's up to me to communicate and share as best I can the vision that I have with them. So then they also capture it and they also get it. And then it's about bringing the right people in to Grow Together who also think the same way. But obviously I have a lot more control over that rather than who my family is. But at the end of the day, I love my family. Like there's no words that can describe it. And so the challenge is that sometimes like they don't get it or understand it, but the most important thing is that they still support me, and that's all that matters.
So it's really great what you said about turning weaknesses into your strengths. So if you worked at it, and then so how your friends and your family, they don't understand entrepreneurship. So you built this community of entrepreneurs, of like-minded people. So it's great that you built your own community.
Yeah.
I have another question from our virtual audience from Win. What is your greatest fear and how do you manage fear?
My greatest fear, I touched upon it before. It's also one of my biggest motivators is the fear of regrets ultimately. Yeah, like that's it. Again, I don't want to be 90 years old and, have all these should haves and could haves and stuff because then it's a bit too late for me to do anything about it. How do I manage fear? So with most emotions, actually, because in a way, well, that is what fear is. I've been doing more of this. It's just feeling it. Like so often we feel like, if we feel fear or any other emotion, then we come into this place of like needing. Sometimes it's so automatic and it's our subconscious, but we feel like we need to act on it straight away. So I'm fearful of starting this business. I'm not going to start the business. I'm fearful of starting this podcast. I'm not going to do it. And so then we make these quick decisions straight away. Where what I'm stepping more into is, I'm feeling fear. I'm just going to sit with this. I'm just going to feel it. I'm not going to make any rash decisions of like, I'm feeling fear if I have a speaking gig. No, I'm not going to do that. Or I'm feeling fear in about this or about that, whatever it is. And it's the same with any of emotion, or I'm feeling anxious. And then just starting to, I'm huge on journaling actually. And so I write all this stuff down in my journal of like feeling the fear, what's triggering it, what's the underlying thing, like what am I worried about, why is this fear coming up, and asking like these thought-provoking questions, and I just journal it down. That is how that's the place I'm kind of stepping into right now, and you can find out some very interesting and cool things about yourself. And for me, that's part of the self-discovery process. Again, rather than, okay, we're feeling anxious, we're going to act on this sensation, this feeling right now. It can take time to get to that place, and I'm not perfect that sometimes I may still react or respond to a feeling straight away. As I said, I'm stepping into this place right now where, I'm feeling fear. I'm going to sit with this. I'm going to journal about it, and understand more of where this fear is coming from and why it's coming from this place.
Those are great tips about managing fear, because it's also pandemic times and it brings out people's fears as well. So more comments from our virtual audience from Shanta Nagendram. Thank you very much, Luke. That's a great perspective on your two challenges and dealing with them. Afzal Hossein is saying, hello, everyone from Bangladesh. And then Happy would like to ask you, Happy Andrada, she would like to ask you, do you have any advice for someone who would want to start an online show?
My advice would be to do it. And like do it yesterday type of thing. But no, I think if you're looking to start an online show, like do it, work out what you want to call it, work out like the why, the reason behind it. Like, I want to start this online show. Why? Is that because I want to become the next huge influencer in the world, or is it because actually I want to serve others, I want to help support others, I want to share my message? Like, what's the motivations behind it? What's the why behind it? Get clear on that, and then go for it, do it. I would also say, like, don't wait until you get all fancy with the equipment like I have now with the microphone and stuff. When I first started, I was just using my earphones from my phone. So you don't need all of the fancy stuff. I think for me, when you're starting anything new, a new business, whatever it is, before you jump into it, take a step back, become crystal clear on the why, the reason, the motivations behind it. You get that clear. You set the vision or the path you want to go. You know where you want to take it, and then I would jump straight into it.
So happy start that online show.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay, so our virtual audience are enjoying our topic. And then I have another question from Win. She's asking, as a young entrepreneur, how do you define success?
I define success in, I think, so before I say this, I think this is going to change over the next, between now and the end of the year, just because of the online programs and kind of learning in that I'm doing right now. But up to this point, up to right now, I define success in one word, and that one word is freedom.
Freedom. Care to elaborate more on freedom?
Freedom. So so part of it comes back to the point I mentioned right at the beginning around self-expression. So when I was working the 9 to 5, there was no self-expression. I could be earning, I wasn't, but I could have been earning £100,000 or whatever. But if there's no self-expression, for me, there's no freedom. Therefore, there's no success, right? So that's one part of it. The freedom also to ultimately like live my life. Like if I want to, I don't know, like go. So Sunday. So Sunday is a perfect example, right? Sunday I'm going to watch a football match. Like if I was working a 9 to 5, or if I was working the Morrison's job, I was many moons ago now, I would be in work on a Sunday, right? I wouldn't be able to go. I can go now. So that's not to say that within entrepreneurship, there's not times where you may have to quote unquote sacrifice and can always live by the beach or whatever. Like it's not like that, even within entrepreneurship. But even then when you're working the job, or even then when you're running the business, you have that self-expression within your business, right? You're still ultimately doing what you want to do. It's in alignment with your values, which I think is hugely important in this conversation. So those for me are some of the points around freedom ultimately. And yeah, I would just finish on this point around, it comes back to that whole thing, that whole topic, that whole conversation around self-expression.
Self-expression is freedom. That's success for you. I have another question from Happy.
Okay.
So what do you think about using TikTok for business? Because as what Tongi said, it's becoming quite popular. Some businesses use it already. What can you say about TikTok?
So what I would say, this is what I say on TikTok. I haven't used TikTok up to this point in the way that so this is one of the things that I'm working on, because it's a should have, right? It's a could have. Like I could have you been using TikTok more. And I think it's a very good idea for anyone out there who has a personal brand or has a business to start using TikTok and not get to the point where I am right now, where I'm about a year behind actually using it. And like there's no excuses. Like for me, I've just had quote unquote bigger priorities in my life and within business, rather than to work out a entire new platform. That's my, I guess, my reason for it. But I'm 110% responsible for not using TikTok more. And I think that if you're thinking about using TikTok more, do not do what I've done and not do it. Go the other way and do it. So yeah, I'm not a TikTok expert or can give you necessarily advice on TikTok, probably apart from with any social platforms, speak your truth, etc., as what I shared beforehand. And also the other tip, I guess, is that if you're thinking about using it, use it and not get to a place where you are, well, where I am right now, of being 12 months to 18 months behind the curve, because I had the thought or the idea of using TikTok 12 months ago, but never took action on that, again, due to my priorities just being in other areas of my life.
So just take action on which platform to use and focus on that,
Yeah.
because it's not really possible to do all sorts of platforms, because it's just going to be too tiring. You have
Well,
to
see,
focus.
so Viva, I would say that for people to use all platforms, like I think at times there has to be, or there could be a priority, like where you're, if you're on Instagram right now and you have a big following there, like your priority is Instagram, but there's certain content strategies that you can use where you can produce a lot of content for a lot of different platforms and also save time. That's probably another different conversation. For me, I realized that I had to look like, okay, when a platform's new, you do have to learn it. And again, no excuses. I wasn't willing 12 months ago, 18 months ago to learn TikTok when now and stepping into the beginning of the summer, I've been more open to and more willing to learn that platform. So yeah, it takes time to learn a platform, and while you're learning a platform, you may not be posting so much on Twitter or Facebook, but you can definitely use all platforms at the same time once you get to a place of let's call it a place of kind of flow, and you have the right strategy in place. You can totally use all platforms.
Okay, so it really depends on the person if they can manage all of the different platforms. So, Luke, what would you like to tell older generations? What would you like older generations to know about the youth? And what can the youth teach the older generations?
So yeah, for the older generations, I would say staying on the theme we've had so far of to be willing to give and to create spaces and to give young people time to think, to reflect, and then to have their voice heard. I don't want to come on here and like hate on all the older generations of like, you're not listening to younger generations or whatever it is. I would just encourage older generations to be a bit more willing, a bit more mindful on the spaces to create for younger people, and also not to do things for them. Again, it kind of goes for any generation, even younger people, might be a bit trivial, but like for younger people, if they're helping a family member on like, I don't know, technology, for example, like don't do it for them, show them, right? And then they can also learn. So that's kind of my whole perspective on from both sides, really, of just to be a bit more thoughtful, a bit more mindful on the supports that we're sharing across generations ultimately. Yeah, I hope that answers your question, Viva.
Yeah, definitely. There's actually something to learn from the young and also the older generations as well. So just really be open to learning more. So World Humanitarian Drive has an Honoring the Honorable initiative to identify and recognize individuals and organizations for their contributions to the world. Oh, this is actually the World Moral Day. It's the initiative to emphasize the need to practice morality in the minds of every individual in the world. So because in September 2, it's the end of World War II. So WHD is making a petition for the UN to declare 2nd of September as World Moral Day. So how important are morals and WHD's World Moral Day initiative in these times?
Yeah, I think as I was discussing before we went live, I'm yet to become fully educated on the World Morale Day initiative, but it sounds definitely a great idea, especially with the values that I shared beforehand, or my personal values I shared beforehand in mind, and also this kind of sense of, I guess it's another value that I tries to create, which is peace ultimately, as well, of like peace and kindness and love and being optimistic and just having that gratitude. So I definitely feel that this initiative very much feeds into like my own personal values. So I definitely get more educated on that myself. And overall, like with that in mind, I think morals, values, principles are so important. And I would encourage people to start to think of what their own values are, discover what their own values are, and then start living more from these values. And I think when we start doing that, we will create more happier, fulfilling lives. And that's only going to be a positive. So yeah, that's some of my thoughts on values and morals. And I would encourage, again, people to start that journey of discovering what's theirs. And if you're wondering, like, okay, how do I do that? For me, I think it starts with, I mean, you could start with asking yourself questions of like, what's important to me in life? Why, then going deeper and deeper. You can start by with like, so you act your daily activity, like what do you do on a daily basis? Is it, is this something you want to do for the rest of your life? For example, if you bring awareness to the fact of, oh, unfortunately, every day when I come home from work, I complain to my partner about this, and this. Do I want to be in this state of victimhood and complaining for the rest of my life? No, I'm not really living in alignment with my value of whatever you decide for you. The in a way, like the opposite of that is, if that makes sense. So those are some of the ways that I would start to bring awareness around my own morals and values. And then it's a journey, right? Like everything's a journey. Everything's a journey and an experience, and we just step into that and be grateful for that and continue to progress. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
So Luke, could you just invite our virtual audience to grow together online, and then your upcoming projects that you would like to promote, if you could just share them and how they could get in touch and sign up for your events?
For sure. So if you've liked what I've shared here today and you want to learn more about Grow Together, then if you go to letsgrowtogether.com, you can sign up for the community there. When you sign up for the community, you'll be invited to all of our community events from moving forward, which happen on Fridays and Sundays on a 2-weekly schedule. On our website, you can also sign up for networking events. So you don't have to be a community member for these networking events. These are open to everyone. We had to, again, just have a sign up process so we can send the Zoom details to you every Monday. And then I am also running a free masterclass on the 19th, which is all around career fulfillment, which is a huge topic, but a huge passion of mine as well, because I definitely have the belief if we're not doing what we love, then it brings the question to mind for me, what the hell are we doing here? And so in this masterclass, we're going to be pretty much uncovering this and supporting people to step more into fulfilling careers, and fulfilling careers that don't lead to stress or burnout. That's another huge focus point, because a lot of entrepreneurs face burnout. A lot of people in 9-to-5s and in the corporate world face burnout. How can we create fulfilling careers that don't lead to that? That's the topic for this event, or this masterclass on the 19th. I'm collaborating with a fulfillment coach on this event. So yeah, if you like what I've shared here today, you think that would be of value to you, then what I would do, I will send the link over to Viva to share that with everyone. And yeah, you can sign up for that. The link currently is in my Instagram bio, and also Grow2Gether's Instagram bio. So if you do want to follow me across social media, you can find me on all platforms under the username real Luke Burrows, and Grow2Gether on Instagram is just Grow2Gether. The 2 is the number 2, and I should probably also pointed that out for our website link as well. It's whenever I'm mentioning Grow2Gether, it's grow, the number 2, and then gather. So yeah, just point that out. But I'll send all links over to Viva, so she can share them with you. But yeah, so join the community, get involved in networking events, connect with me, or come along to the event if you've liked what I've shared here today.
I think we also have a video, or will we just share that on the link?
Yeah, so
here's the video.
Hey everyone,
you got the
so
video.
I just wanted to record this real short video to invite you to a free masterclass that I am doing on the 19th of August. It's going to start at 7 p.m. and it's with the awesome Paige Mitchell, as we're going to be talking about career stress and burnout, how to overcome stress and burnout in your career ultimately, you know. And this is a topic I'm really passionate about and invested in, because I feel like it's definitely one that's in alignment with my overall mission, which is to raise human consciousness, right? And a huge part of that is our careers, and a huge part of that is finding and creating fulfillment in our careers, you know. I'm somebody who spent 5+ years in a job, in a career that I was definitely not passionate about, which definitely led to stress and burnout, you know, just doing the same thing day in, day out, and yeah, just not having that passion and that drive in it. And it sometimes can go the other way, right, where you don't have that balance between because you're passionate about it so much, and so you neglect the other areas of your life, maybe if it's relationships or your health or whatever it is. So guys, this event on the 19th of August, hope to see you then. Have a fantastic day. There should be a link somewhere around this video where you can check out all the details, and we hope that you join us for this event on the 19th of August.
Okay, so the 19th of August, we'll send in the link as well. So for the final question, we always ask, this is our favorite question to ask our guests. What is your inspiring message to the world?
My inspiring message to the world is to step into who you truly are, ultimately. Don't be afraid to step into who you truly are. I'm going through this process at the moment in this course, actually, that talks about how life is actually us, like we are life, right? And so it's up to us to step into that, to really engage with and to really live life fully, you know? And so I'm sure I'm going to be sharing a lot more about this on my Instagram and within my content. But my final thoughts and my words here today would be to step into who you truly are. And one way to, or a starting point to that, is when you're going through that process, you don't have to cut people off, but block people out. And there's a difference between cutting people off and block people out. So when I say about block people out, it's about listening to your own intuitive voice that so often can get lost because there's so much noise in the world. It kind of, it's under here, you know, it's like underneath all these other voices, all these other opinions, all this noise. And so I feel like when we're stepping into who we truly are, we're finding that voice again. And that would be my last words. And hopefully, you know, that inspires people to go like, okay, you know, I know I have this voice within me, and it's up to me to listen to that and to step into that.
Thank you so much, Luke Burrows, for honoring us with your presence, sharing your wisdom, your words of wisdom, expertise, and inspiring the world with your story. So in honor of international recognition for your virtue in persistently serving and inspiring humanity with your noble deeds, World Humanitarian Drive would like to award you with an Inspiring Humanitarian Award signed by Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, the founder, chairman, and signed today. So congratulations.
Amazing. Thank
Luke.
you, guys.
So congratulations on your award. And thank you for all your humanitarian works, and here's to many more. And so Luke Burrows, CEO of Grow2Gether, mindset coach and podcast host in the UK. We would like to share a quotation by our featured guest, Luke Burrows. We all face dark moments in our lives. And when we do, we believe that they are going to last forever. They don't, especially when we take action to overcome them. If we aren't doing what we love and something bigger than ourselves, then what are we doing here? Once you start your personal growth journey, there is no going back. It becomes a way of life. Discovering your why in life and North Star give you purpose, meaning, and direction. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion with Luke Burrows, that it motivated you to focus on your personal growth, find ways to empower the youth, unleash your inner entrepreneur, and speak out to make a difference in the world. Here on Inspiring Millions Show, we present you with brilliant people from around the world, so feel free to connect with them on social media, and together, let's make a difference in the world. If today's discussion inspired you, please like it, share it, send us a comment. Do share with us your takeaways from today. Follow us on our social media accounts. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel, WHD Media. Visit our WHD website, www.whd.org.uk for more inspiring events. Stay safe and healthy. These are challenging times for everyone. Please remember to be kind to yourself and others. To our frontliners, we salute you. We thank you for your hard work, sacrifices, and dedication to humanity. To all those celebrating their birthdays and special milestones this week, happy celebrations. Have a wonderful weekend. On behalf of WHD team, especially those working behind the scenes, WHD Chairman Dr. Abdul Basit Saeed, WHD Director of Global Operations, Ms. Sarah Wilson, WHD's 12 Honorable Secretary Generals, we thank you, our virtual audience from around the world, for joining us and supporting our show. This has been World Humanitarian Drive's Inspiring Millions Show. I'm Viva Andrada O'Flynn. Please join us again next Friday. We will have a discussion with Mr. Kyaw Win of Myanmar, social activist, as we inspire the world here on Inspiring Millions Show.